Anyone who believes in indefinite growth on a physically finite planet is either mad or an economist.
We don't want to focus politics on a notion that involves the rejection of principles around which a large majority of our fellow citizens organize their lives.
We are not as endlessly manipulable and as predictable as you would think.
We've gathered together tonight to discuss a major survey carried out by the Alcohol and Crime Commission, which was set up by Addaction, consisting of leading figures from across the prison system, from Parliament and the treatment sector. The Commission surveyed prisoners across England and found that while many will be able to manage their alcohol problems during their sentence, a lack of support upon being released can lead them straight back into criminal behaviour. So how do we break that cycle?
Talking about alcohol, I'm going to start by psychoactive substances, as they're called. We have a very odd relationship with psychoactive substances, and that might be for health or recreation. And as a species, we've experimented with, and we've often become addicted to, a whole range of substances, depending upon where on the planet we lived and what was available. And for most of woman's history, there's nothing been much around in the way of laws. It was more about culture rather than laws and morals. It was also about profit. But it was in the 20th century when things got complicated and countries, notably the USA, began to decide that actually some things were legal and some things were illegal. And some of the motives in that legal-illegal debate were more about race and social engineering and less, I would say, about harm. Prohibition we had, that was probably as hypocritical as was the development of new psychoactive substances to keep troops fighting, or acceptance of existing substances to offset battle trauma, places like Vietnam. So today we're left with a random selection of substances that are illegal and others that are not only legal, but in many communities they're socially lauded, alcohol being our favourite. Now, in terms of what all these substances do to us, the debate remains inconsistent. And legal substances like alcohol and tobacco, we know, kill more people than heroin, cannabis and cocaine. With alcohol, we talk about units of consumption and we talk about sensible drinking, whatever that is. But we do know, but we're fairly reluctant to admit, that if alcohol was invented tomorrow in a remote Chinese laboratory, as many substances currently are, it would immediately be banned. There would be no doubt about it whatsoever. And the debates about relative harms are important, not always welcomed, as Professor David Nutt has found to his cost. And debates around legalisation and decriminalisation, they're important as well. And unit pricing, that warrants discussion too. But that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. What's missing is a real debate about behaviour. And that's what this report is trying to open up. Interestingly, many public figures, if you push them, will admit to smoking cannabis, although it's very odd how many of them didn't inhale, or how many of them only did it once, but, you know, we take them on their word. They probably sat round in a dark room listening to bad music, talking nonsense, and if that resonates to some of you here, well, so be it. Heroin, well, it may enhance your feelings and emotions, but it will do so while you are to the rest of the world in a stupor. Cocaine, crystal meth, well, that's very often about sexual behaviour, but I'll leave that one with you. But it's the acquisition of these illicit substances, that's the bit that necessitates the criminal behaviour, the acquisition. The behaviours under the influence of these substances, not good for you, not socially acceptable, but it's more about personal problems rather than public problems. Alcohol, well, then we're into a major paradigm shift. Now, when I try to get more than one pack of paracetamol after a hard day's gardening, the checkout staff, they're very apologetic, but they'll only let me have one pack because it's very, very dangerous stuff. But I can go and buy a case of vodka, and a bottle of vodka will kill me, but much less than a bottle of vodka will significantly affect my behaviour. I can't drive a car, I can pass legislation. Might want to raise that with the Minister. What sort of other things people do under the influence of alcohol, we are more reluctant to investigate, and I think that's primarily because of its legality. And alcohol affects different people in different ways, and we need to do more to understand and tackle those behaviours. Now, our report outlines a lot of data on alcohol and crime, and not least on domestic violence. It also highlights how little we're doing about it. Now, in prison, we deal to a certain extent with alcohol dependence, but we should be aware that people can behave badly under the influence of alcohol without being dependent. Dependency might not be the primary issue. And prisoners, okay, you can get drugs in jail, but largely prisoners are abstinent from alcohol in jail. You can get it to a certain extent, people brew it, open prisons you can get hold of it, but largely it's not there in the same way that the traditional illicit drugs are. And that tends to lead us to a false sense of security, i.e. it isn't a problem because no one's taking it. But what prison is and should be, in my opinion, is an opportunity to intervene and really make a difference. Prisoners we interview, they told us, one in particular said, well, have you got an alcohol problem? No, but I'm usually drunk when I'm arrested. Now, a lot of money has been and continues to be spent, quite rightly, on traditional drug treatment. But alcohol treatment remains, beyond detox, beyond that initial problematic issue, what I would describe as the Cinderella service. And what we need to do, and we've highlighted in the report, as a social scientist, I would say we do need more research about that relationship between alcohol and offending behaviour. Because what we should do is, in this new world of the CRCs, the community rehabilitation companies, we need to commission more alcohol